welcome back to our channel. Today is episode 3 and it's all about interviews.
Yes, interview prep, interview skills, all of that stuff, which is kind of relevant right now. Seeing as COVID is kind of being lifted, I know people are recruiting, so this one is for everyone that is starting something fresh and is starting a new job.
So first, we're going to get straight into it. We're going to look at the different types of interview. So you've got face-to-face, telephone interview and
video interview.
So one of the types of interview that you'll get is face-to-face, and face-to-face is literally when you get called in either to an office or it can even be sometimes in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
People do that nowadays, but yeah, so it can be in any environment, but you'll get called in and you have a face-to-face interview that could probably last 45 minutes to an hour and can be followed up by some group work, group activity, or some tests, depending on what type of job you're going for, obviously. And sometimes it can be just simple as a few questions, getting to know you a bit. But if it's a more of a intensive job or something that requires you to do a test like psychological, behavioural or mathematics, anything like that, it could also include that.
Next one is telephone, guys. Now telephone is kind of like a filter option, so you're more likely to get a face-to-face after the telephone, but the telephone part is basically to narrow down the company's options. So if they've got loads of applicants and they don't really know who to choose from, they will call you up and have like a quick, it's not too long, it's sometimes about 15 to 20 minutes, asking you generic questions about the company, about you, your skills, and then they usually tell you on the day itself whether you're successful or not. And yeah, and then after that, then they will follow it up with a face-to-face interview. So it's just another option before the face-to-face that some companies do, but not all.
Another type of interview is a video interview. So this can either be arranged like a Zoom call meeting, or it can be pre-recorded. So they can give you some set questions that you need to look into and pre-record yourself answering it and just submit. And this can also be like a interview before your official interview, or sometimes they can just use it as your official interview. But it really depends on the company if they want to get to know you more.
So we've got types of interview questions here for you. Number 1, type of interview. So you get competency-based questions. These are more of things that you can do. So they kind of ask you to put your skills to the test. They ask you to give examples of, give me an example of when you've been in this position before, which relates to the job description. So anything that's needed for the job, they will ask you if you have previously experienced those kind of things.
Another interview question is skill-based questions. Another type of interview question is strength-based questions. These are questions that basically assess your strengths and how you can incorporate that into your work life. So if you're good at team working, your practical skills, and how your strengths can help in that job and if you'll be a perfect match for the job role. Another question is technical questions, and what we mean by technical questions is if you work in areas like law, where they require you to know some of the laws, policies, or finance sector, engineering, where they might need you to show some practical skills. So these jobs require to do a test. It might not just be paper-based, it could be practical. It's just to check your knowledge in the job sector and if you'll be suitable for it.
So the next type of interview question is a situational judgment. These are the kind of things where they say a situation about, imagine this is happening and a customer's angry, and they'll give you a kind of problem and you need to figure out how to solve the problem. You need to show your skills and tell them what exactly you would do to calm the matter down or resolve the issue.
Another type of interview question is value-based questions, and what this is to check your morals and understanding and ethics of workplaces, such as like the NHS or caretaking jobs, to see if you are understanding of what they stand for and if you be that sort of person, like for example empathetic, you understand the values of taking care of someone, making sure you put them first and do right by them.
And the last one we're going to talk about is motivational types of interview questions. So these are more of the questions that help see how you are driven to the job. They will ask you questions like, what makes you think that you are most suited for this job role? And that's where they see you motivated, they see you inspired to work for them. Right, moving on to what to take to an interview. The most important thing, and I learnt this in my last interview, is a pen and a notebook. Definitely a pen.
Yes.
Let me share my little personal experience. I went to an interview and they gave me a task where I had to use a pen, and I didn't have a pen and I was fumbling, and I asked the person that was interviewing me for a pen. That's not a good look. You need to have a pen.
Another thing to take with you is your CV, because this is what the employee will have and will be looking at, so they kind of base some of their questions off that. So it's good to take your CV, also your invitation, because sometimes you might not directly go into the office, you might have to be in a waiting area and you might have to show the receptionist. So have your invitation ready, whether it's on your email, paper-based, whatever it is, make sure you have that. And also your job description, having that at hand and reminding yourself of what the job consists of will help you in your interview.
What you guys also want to bring is your academic certificates. So if you are leaving school and you're doing an apprenticeship, you need your GCSE qualifications, your A-level qualifications. If you finish uni, you need your degree. All of that stuff. And also some people ask for work examples, so if you're doing a creative role in fashion or something, they might ask to see your portfolio or something like that, so you would need to bring those stuff with you too.
Make sure you take your passport or driving license, birth certificate, whatever they require, because they will need to photocopy these and keep that at hand for themselves.
Exactly.
So make sure you have that, so you're not waiting extra long to then go back and hand it in.
Okay, so the next one is just personal preference. We would recommend taking breath mints or gum and a bottle of water. Obviously the gum is not for when you're actually sitting in the interview, because I think it's quite rude if you're just sitting there and you're going like you're chomping on your gum. It's for when you're waiting in the waiting room or something like that. Just quickly have it. Take a bottle of water, because sometimes, I don't know about anyone else, but when I get nervous, like I get dehydrated, like my throat feels really dry, and you don't want to be choking on your words. So take your water, take your time, and everything will be fine.
The next thing to bear in mind, guys, is what to wear for an interview. So make sure you wear something formal and that's appropriate. 9 out of 10 times they expect you to come looking presentable, unless it says otherwise on there that you can come casual, or maybe you're going for an interview that's practical, so you're good with some t-shirts or something less formal. But make sure you find out. If it doesn't say, make sure you contact them and ask, but sometimes it does say on the invitation dress code, so do have a look at that.
Yeah, also make sure if you are wearing formal wear like a shirt or a blouse, make sure it's ironed. It does kind of give the wrong impression, like if you're wearing a cute blouse but it's all crinkly and stuff, they'll just think you were unprepared or you rushed your outfit or something like that. And just make sure the best thing is to be comfortable. So even if it's smart, make sure you're comfortable in it, because the more comfortable you are, you're probably going to have a smoother interview process. Right, guys, so now we're going to move on to the small things that you should probably keep in mind. So the first thing that I want to say is to make sure your fingernails are nice and clean, that they're not chipped, that they don't have any dirt in it. If you are looking to wear nail polish, I wouldn't recommend wearing like a bright colour like orange or red or something like that. Keep it neutral, or maybe just keep like a clear coat on your nails.
Jewelry, if you are going to wear jewelry, keep it very simple and elegant. Don't go in with big hoops or chains. Keep it as simple and elegant as possible. Also, if you have tattoos, if they're coverable, try and cover them to the interview. You don't want to give the wrong impression. So if you can wear a long sleeve, wear a long sleeve. If you've got a tattoo on the back of your neck, put your hair down. I had to do that on my first interview. So yeah, try to just look presentable.
Yeah, I also read somewhere, this also does come under jewelry, if you're wearing a watch and if your interview requires you giving a presentation, you shouldn't have your watch on your wrist. You should keep it in front of you on the table so that you can check how you're doing for time, because apparently it's quite rude if you keep looking at your watch whilst you're giving a presentation. So that's also another thing to keep in mind. Make sure your shoes are nice and polished, make sure they're not teared. Make sure you're not wearing like flip-flops or anything like that. It needs to be completely professional, no toes on display.
Hell no. Preparing your bag so everything is accessible to you. So like a pen, for instance, don't just chuck it at the bottom of your bag and then you're looking for it and getting all nervous, so don't do that. Also your phone, make sure it is turned off when you go into the interview room, so you have no disturbance, and it'll be really rude if your phone was to go off in the middle of the interview, so make sure you turn that off. Next topic we are going to be talking about is how to make a good impression. So first things first, guys, make sure you are punctual. So if your journey to the interview takes an hour, leave an hour and a half. Make sure you are there a good 15 minutes early. This gives you enough time. If you're feeling nervous, you get to sit down and relax.
The next thing you want to keep in mind is positivity and enthusiasm. This is so important because, like we were saying in our CV, like it's all about personality and persona. You're still going to carry on that feature up until your face-to-face interview. So like Jay was saying, sometimes you don't go straight into an interview, you meet other people before that, like a receptionist. Always be super polite, be very friendly. Even when you go into your interview, you know, keep it really exciting, keep it fun, always have a smile on your face. You need to bring 100% like positive energy. One thing to be careful of is avoid bad mouthing previous employees or colleagues that you've worked with, because an employer, when they're trying to interview you, they might think, okay, how do we know they're not going to do that about us if they was to leave our job? So you just want to keep it very humble and just 100% positive.
Another thing to consider, guys, is body language. Body language is so important. It gives away a lot before you even open your mouth. Sometimes people like to do a handshake. With COVID, that's probably a no-no. But normally you would go in and give a handshake when times are normal. So make sure your handshake is solid, firm. When you're sitting down for the interview, make sure you're not slouching, you're upright, but make sure you're comfortable. Also, when you're getting asked questions, make sure you give them good eye contact, to not look away. If you need a moment, just take a sip of your water, or just tell them I just need a moment. They're very understanding, but make sure you keep your eye contact and don't look away and look nervous, because that's just a no-no.
Clarity is the next thing we're going to talk about. So when you're answering your questions, always make sure you are speaking clearly, concisely. Make sure, you know, you're vocally there, like you're not mumbling, you're not falling on your words. If you don't understand a question, always ask for clarification. They don't mind that. They will not think bad of you. Just ask them, sorry, I don't understand what that means. Can you explain that again? And they'll be more than happy to explain it. And also, when you're answering your questions, take your time with it. Don't rush, because literally they will see that you're nervous. Right, guys, now we're going to move on to things that could possibly jeopardize your chance if you don't take it too seriously. So number one, we kind of touched on it, but I'm going to go into it a bit more depth, is arriving unprepared. So you kind of want to be prepared, and in terms of that, I don't even mean just arrive into the interview. That means the job itself. So I know some of us, when we are applying for a job, we'll go onto the website, we'll learn a bit about them. Some of them have like tabs of important people that you need to know about, background that you need to check. I know in some questions, some interviews, they will ask you, what is it you like about this company? And you would then research, find out what you like, and talk to them about it. Always carry the details of your interviewee with you, just in case you come across an accident on your way, or there's like an emergency and you can't make it on time. They would rather hear from you than not hear from you at all. So definitely keep that in mind, because that's a bad look.
Another thing to consider, guys, is talking too much or too less. Make sure you're not too quiet, but also make sure you're loud, like Priya said, loud and clear. But don't waffle. If they're asking a question, don't repeat yourself. So if you've given an answer which is very similar to another answer, don't do it. Try and think of a new scenario. Try not to repeat yourself. Also, don't talk over the interviewee. Make sure you let them speak, finish, and then you speak. And if you ever feel like you're not sure about an answer or didn't understand the question, like Priya said earlier, just ask the interview to clarify the question. They do sometimes simplify it so you understand it, or just politely say, can we come back to that question later? And it's better you say that than just waffling or just saying something that's totally not related to what they've just asked. A good way to prepare for this is to practice with a friend or relative before the interview. So you can just go through rough questions, go on Google. There's places like the forum. Is it a student forum?
I use that. It's the student forum.
Yeah, student forums, which are really good. It's basically where people who've done the interview in the past kind of put down their experience. Sometimes they even put down some of the questions that's come up, so you can go on it and prepare yourself with somebody else using those questions.
The last thing we're going to talk about is failing to ask questions. This is really important, and I don't think I understood this up until recently either. Normally, when you're done with your interview, the person will ask you, do you have any questions? And normally I would have said no, because I'm shy and I don't really want to continue it. But you are supposed to ask questions. This is your turn to ask the company whatever you like, but when I say that, it does come with a filter, because there are some things that you maybe should not ask. So stuff like, what projects are the team members working on? Is there any room for progression? How quickly can you progress in this company? Things like that are all positive things, because they're already thinking about how you want to be a part of it and you want to move up in there. On the other hand, things that you probably shouldn't ask are stuff like, okay, so what's my pay like? When do I get paid? Like, stuff that are like too eager about money and stuff like that. They might just think you're in it for the money and not because you're actually dedicated to the company.
So the next topic we are going to cover is things you should consider after the interview. So one of the main things is asking the interviewee or the employer, how long will it take for you to hear back from them? You can ask this at the end of your interview, or just give them an email. This is good because it helps you keep a lookout on your emails and make sure you're not missing any updates.
So if you've been offered the job, you've been accepted, congratulations to you. Well done for getting that far. So you then want to tell them whether you've accepted the job or whether you want to decline the job. And then that's also the part where they would tell you what to bring on your first day. When is your first day? Like, they'll tell you when you start.
Going off what Priya just said, in a situation where you don't want the job and you want to decline, just do it politely. It might not be the job for you right now, but you might want to work for the company in the later future. So just make sure you say it in a manner which is polite and acceptable.
Now guys, we're going to talk about if you did not get the job offer. So the first thing is to just be positive still, keep an open mind, as we've spoken about before. Maybe it's not the right job for you, there will be other opportunities for you. The second thing is you can ask them for feedback always. So if you are unsuccessful, you can ask them, what was the reason why? Did I do anything wrong?
Like Priya just said, just keep in mind the things that didn't go too well in your interview, or things where you feel like you could have done better. Jot them down for next time and practice this with somebody else, like a friend, family member, or even a careers advisor. You can literally go to them and say, this is what happened, I want to improve on these things, and they can actually help you as well. And that's it guys, and it's a wrap.
So that is all for this video guys. We hope that this was very helpful. These are just basic skills to help you. Obviously, like we said, they do get filtered down depending on the job. They might ask you for more, but if it does come to that stage, you're always more than welcome to research it on Google. Like, Google has answers for everything. Like Jay said, there's so many forums that you can search up and they will tell you everything about the job, everything about the interview.
It's probably like the best place because it's actually real life people telling you about their experience.
Yeah, and one thing good about that is it tells you when they've posted it, so you can see whether it's current. If it says like 3 or 4 months ago, they're probably not going to change their interview process that much. It might be as similar to that person, so you'll be like, oh, okay, that's kind of what I'm looking for. But yeah, we really hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe as always, and stay tuned for our next video.
Bye.